Street scene outside the Hotel Metropolis in Delhi. The view from my balcony in the room, in the hotel. Ramakrishna Temple in New Delhi. The head of the center, Samadhi Pit of Gandhi, New Delhi, on the way to Mayavati. Mayavati Retreat Center in the foothills of the Himalayas. This is the head of the Mayavati Ashram. Again with Atma, my traveling companion. The main building of Mayavati. It was an old tea plantation acquired by devotees of Swami Vivekananda in the late 1890s, converted to an ashram. Japanese monk and gardener in the flower beds.
Do you want me to
Swami Narasimhananda, editor of the Prabhupada Bharata.
You gotta zoom in on everything. Yeah.
A main periodical published by the Ramakrishna order, Advaita Ashrama. Here he is in his office. And the building on the right houses the offices of Prabhupada Bharata. Front view of the same building. This is a charitable hospital run by the Ramakrishna order here at Mayavati. It's the head of the hospital.
This is David Maharaj, formerly of Patna.
Couldn't resist an eye chart in Devanagari. Hospital's original old building and the new building beside it. Panning back to the old building, of course. Doctor with young patient at the hospital. Came from 70 miles away on the plane for treatment. Statue of Swami Vivekananda in the hospital building. Volunteer who's lived here for 11 years or so. Mother's bungalow, built by Mother Savior in the 1890s. Our guest house. Rishi Kutir, and another guest house, meditation hall in our guest house, my room in our guest house, a pilgrim ready to go on a hike up the hillside, other devotees along on the hike. Rock cairn dedicated to the Divine Mother. A leech plucked from my boot and put on the side of a tree. The leech was about 3 inches long, but extended a lot more than that. A view of the main building from up the hillside. Meditation hut at the top of the hill, our destination. Another view of the main building through the mist. Our car and driver, Sanjeev. A view out over the hills toward Lohagat.
This is Lohagat.
We made a day trip to Lohagat, do a little shopping, see the sights. On the road from Mayavati back through Shamalatal to Delhi. Here we were stopped for road work. There's paving the road up ahead. Road toward Shamalatal. Here we are at the Shamalatal ashram with several of the same devotees that we saw at Mayavati. Building housing the shrine for Sri Ramakrishna. Guest house constructed by my guru's guru, Swami Virajananda. A sort of a mini Panchavati there. Notice all the moss growing on the concrete slab there. Very wet.
Possible. This is Shamalatal, the very lake.
Cattle descending the hillside, going down to the lake. Followed by a sadhu also heading for the lake. Houseboats on the Nagin Lake at Srinagar. That's our houseboat on the right. This is our arrival at the houseboat with our houseboy on the steps. A view from the back side of the houseboat. A shikara passing by on the lake. The houseboat adjoining us on the right. Another view of the same houseboat. The living room on our houseboat. Flat screen TV in the living room. Still life with apples in the dining room. Another shikara boatman. Houseboat on our left. Fuller view of that houseboat.
9 a.m.
All this from our porch of our houseboat. This is from the roof of our houseboat. The muezzin calling the Muslim faithful to prayer can be heard in the distance.
No?
Sheep being readied for slaughter for the feast of Eid al-Adha, which commemorates Abraham's willingness to sacrifice his son Isaac, and then the sacrificial ram caught in the thicket.
Holy Heritage Garden, Srinagar.
famous Shalimar Gardens, Mughal Emperor's pleasure garden. Yaqub, our guide, son of the owner of the Peacock houseboats, scion of the family. This was late September.
Nishad Gardens, part of the Mughal heritage gardens.
Nishad Garden is about a mile away from Shalimar. Much less famous, of course.
Nishad Gardens.
Native garb props for the photographer. Entrance to Nishat Garden.
Viewpoint from Omkareshwar Hill out over Srinagar, basically.
Emperor Akbar's fort on the northwest side of
Houseboats on
Srinagar.
Tiruvannamalai Lake. Accessible only by shikara. And there in the border on the shikara is lined up for hire. So here we are, mid-afternoon. Nagin Lake. Mountains all surrounding this vale of Kashmir. This was Wyoming, we call it Nagin Lake. 5:40 on a Thursday.
These are all taken from the porch entryway of our houseboat. So the paper mache walla displaying his wares on our houseboat deck porch, and at his paper mache factory preparing a bowl over a metal mold from paper mache.
So then we use
Mother Shikara. Our boatman plucked this water lily and handed it to me. On our way across Dal Lake. Heading for an urban area to do lunch. Southern reaches of Dal Lake here with
Well, it's getting right along there.
many houseboats in this area, accessible by shikara. And here, merchants operating from houseboats, accessible by shikara again, of course. Traditional Kashmiri architecture here. It's the center at Srinagar, Ramakrishna mission, and the head of the center. This young fellow's name is Bilal, but his nickname, he told us, was Peter Parker, Spider-Man, in other words. On the way to Sonamarg.
I think we should go up as far as we can.
Base camp at Sonamarg. We have to change to a local car to give them custom. Or rent ponies. These folks on the ponies, certainly. Mountain meadow with glacier-covered mountains up there. Glacier melt tumbling down. This was late September.
Is our driver calling us or the other car?
Hotels in the valley, Sonamarg again.
Entrance to Kashmir Ashram.
This is the head Swami at Varanasi, Annapurnananda.
All right. Thank you.
The pilgrim at Varanasi. Shiva Nataraj Murti at Varanasi. Flower gardens.
Flower beds at Varanasi Ashram Garden.
On the way to the Ganges, Ma Ganga, riding a bicycle rickshaw. Heading for Dashashvamed Ghat. There was a road race going on that day. Hence the runners.
Here we
At the Ganga. Pundits and touts. And boatmen. This was the rowboat I hired. This is the far shore of the Ganga. That's my umbrella above there. It was a hot day. I needed all the shade I could get. Very early October here.
Raiders and ferns. People tree at home is not so. Varanasi. Shiva temple is just beyond Mayavati.
The Shiva temple was undermined by a flood sometime in the past.
calls back to Ramanashramam and God.
Another bicycle rickshaw on the way back to the ashram. Foreign guest house, Ballermont. Mother and daughter from New Jersey, pictured with the guy who runs the guest house there. And here with the pilgrim, Swami who takes care of the guest houses, the Swami who takes care of the devotees.
Fine, how are you? I thought I'd make a video of Swami descending a staircase.
Swami Atmarupananda, originally from South Carolina. Flowering plants outside the guest house. Steamer on the way to Dakshineshwar from Ballermont. Most expeditious way to get there. And cheapest. Vivekananda Temple at Ballermont. Holy Mother's Temple at Ballermont. Ramananda's Temple, Ballermont. The main temple to Sri Ramakrishna at Ballermont. And a video clip of the same temples, Vivekananda's temple, Holy Mother Shisharada Mani Devi's temple, the front of the main temple to Sri Ramakrishna, and Brahmananda's temple in the foreground, and the dome of the main temple in the background. Main temple with pandal erected for Durga Puja. Holy Mother's Temple. Vivekananda's temple again. Vivekananda Vidyalaya, a university near Ballermont. The museum, another view of the museum, horse-drawn carriage at the museum, bridges on the way to Dakshineshwar, Nivedita Bridge in the foreground, the modern bridge, Arched Bridge, Vivekananda Bridge, landing got at Dakshineshwar with the Kali Temple in the background. In the temple compound, Krishna Temple, Kali Temple, now Shiva temples, and the Kali Temple with the Krishna Temple in the background, the Mandir, and Ramakrishna's room in the far corner. From outside the walls of the temple compound. Back to the steamer to go back to Ballermont. Another Kali temple apparently on the west bank of the Ganga. The main monastery of the Ramakrishna order in the 1890s. Still of Baranagarmat, the second monastery of the order. Kasipur Garden House, where Sri Ramakrishna entered into Mahasamadhi. Mango tree at Kashipur Garden House. Balaram Mandir, where Sri Ramakrishna pulled this cart during the Jagannath festival. Artist depiction of Sri Ramakrishna at Balaram Mandir. M's house, the compiler of the gospel. Interior.
room Srimad composed the below is the gospel.
M's bedroom. Jen rickshaw outside of M's house. Odboden house, where Holy Mother lived for many years. Paddy fields on the way to Jairambati, Kamarpukur. River on the way to Kamarpukur. Entrance to Ramakrishna Ashram at Kamarpukur. Temple at Kamarpukur, where Sri Ramakrishna was born. Birth sites where the temple dome is erected. Mango tree planted by Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna's great-great-nephew, Tarak, the pilgrim by the mango tree. These houses belong to Sri Ramakrishna's family. Shiva temple associated with the birth of Sri Ramakrishna. The Yogi's Shiva temple, Kamarpukur. The family temple still maintained there. Tarak again, great-great-nephew of Sri Ramakrishna. Lakshmi Jal, the small paddy field owned by the family. Alder Pukur tank, where everyone bathed. Still do. The kids at Anur, I bought jalebis to give them and have my driver hand them out so that I can take a video and so he can keep the kids from getting too unruly. Holy Mother's birthplace at Jairambati, her house, temple to Holy Mother, Jairambati, another view of the temple.
Old bridge over the Hamada River. Sri Sardas, Mahadanga. Some good books.
Jagadamba Ashram, Kuopara, near Jairambati, where Holy Mother stayed on her way to and from Calcutta. This Ramakrishna Ashram at Indore in Madhya Pradesh.
A little video
the head Swami, and the assistant Swami, retired chemistry professor who's been living there for a number of years, and the pilgrim at Indore, his room at Indore, windows covered with gamcha towels and a chadar shawl, then a little privacy.
Southwestern design sheet I take every trip. And the socks I used to keep my head.
Omkareshwar on the sacred Narmada River, views up and down the river, hydroelectric dam, suspension bridge. The ashram is downriver there on the right side. Omkareshwar temple, famous Shiva temple. Omkareshwar temple again, a still. Another bridge. This is the ashram itself, downstream from the main town. Swami Deepak Maharaj, head of the center there. Looking downriver, the ashram is on the right, way
My
downstream.
room in 2013.
Looking out from the rooftop of the ashram. Looking back toward the town and a band of monkeys. Bad case of malaria in there, and this Swami had malaria, and we took him back. Ramanashramam at Tiruvannamalai, where Ramana Maharishi lived for many years, at the foot of Arunachala mountain. These are the offices of the ashram bookstore. There is Arunachala mountain in the background, with the ashram buildings in the foreground. Shiva temple. Cow Lakshmi, a statue of Lakshmi, the cow that Ramana guided to liberation from a cow body. Arunachala mountain again. With a band of monkeys there climbing and playing. Still of a peacock on the grounds of Ramana. Arunachaleshwara temple from up on the Arunachala mountain. Naga Murtis at the temple. Nagas again. Gopuram of the temple. And a final shot parting from Arunachala mountain.